Hey, so this is Keenan again from the Acid Drip, and we're just looking at my room. I got right behind me my old Soundgarden poster. Basically, every year I go to 2 concerts with my uncle. I take him to one, and then he takes me to one. They're kind of like Christmas birthday presents rolled into one. And this poster right here is really special because obviously Chris Cornell killed himself this last year. Really sucks. Chester Bennington also died. December, I think it was the 27th, marks the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of Lemmy's death. A lot of people have passed that I really care about. This poster was awesome because I went in 2011 to see Soundgarden, and the Mars Volta opened for Soundgarden at the Bill Graham Civic, which is the craziest thing I can imagine because, like, at the time I didn't know who the Mars Volta were. I was just like, who the hell is this? And like Cedric is up there going, woo! He's doing all of his high singing and he's just doing all these crazy notes, and you're just like, whoa, man, this is a trip. You know, it's like samba meets like weird psychedelic rock. But yeah, I saw this show with my Uncle Mike. This is actually a copy of the new Zion I album. I actually got a chance to meet Zion I at Santa Cruz Music Festival. I set up the press lounge. I was the press director there. I basically set up all the interviews, and we had a backstage area where you could hang out with the artists, interview them. We had some couches set up, nice lighting. And Zion and I came and interviewed with the UCSC students, UC Santa Cruz radio station. And it was just a bunch of student broadcasters who were there. And he did this really long interview for this nice young lady, and she was really excited to talk to Zion I. You know, she'd done all this research, and like he really gave her a ton of time. It was really cool. I think he was really impressed. He's like, whoa, this was so much more pro than I thought it would be, you know. And then I met him backstage after the interview, and he had a bunch of merch with him, and I actually was given a copy of this album, Labyrinth, as a gift from Zion I. She got a copy and I got a copy. It was really cool. We both each got one from him. And then later on, you know, I ordered some merch online from him, and, you know, because I wanted to put some money back into the artist's pocket. But I was really, you know, honored to be given this. And then, you know, I got my little Neurosis poster over here. And then up here I got my college diploma from San Jose State. So this is kind of like my little trophy wall. I said I'd show you around my room, show you like what I got going on. Over here's my bookshelf. I got my Explorer right here, my Gibson Explorer, and it's kind of like blocking up my philosophy section. I got, you know, books about the ancient Roman Republic, Sallust and Circio. I have a copy of Plato's Republic and stuff. These are all smart-ass books that I still haven't had the time to read, but they're on my to-do list. I'm going to just take a moment to just show you around the rest of my room. It's a little gross, but I got the Thanksgiving chicken bone. When my sister gets home, you know, it's the, or it's not the chicken bone, it's the Thanksgiving turkey bone. It's the wishbone. So when she gets back, you know, I'll give it to her and she can snap it. She's preparing to take her LSAT, which is the preparatory test. It's the qualification test to become a lawyer. It's kind of like SATs, but for law school, I guess. I don't really know too much about it. Really proud of her, though. She's knocking down walls, you know. Really young, motivated woman, driven, you know, she's excited and happy about life. Really happy for her, you know. So Monica, this wishbone's for you. Good luck. You know, we're all rooting for you back home. I got my dad's old vinyl collection. This is actually his vintage vinyl player. It's from the mid-60s. I think it's like 65 or something like that. It was passed down from one of my uncles down to my dad, so on and so forth, until he gave it to me. These are the original speakers. This thing has a belt drive in it that's messed up. I haven't been able to get it fixed. So it's really just for display purposes, but one day I'll take it to a shop to get fixed. I've got his collection right here of his these are the choice pieces, you know. So this right here is Wish You Were Here vintage 1970, what, 75, maybe 70, yeah, 75 I think, because 73 was Dark Side of the Moon. And this is the real thing. This is it. This is the real one, you know. It's the coolest thing ever. You take it out of the sleeve, it's got the original paper sleeve. This is actually like really hard to find. This usually rips and people lose it. And then if you look at the vinyl itself, if I'm careful, you can see the two machine hands shaking. You know, that's the original It's the original thing, at least from what I know. Maybe some collector out there knows better than me and is going to tell me it's a fake or something, but I'm pretty sure this is the real thing. My dad gave it to me. It's one of those things that I'm really proud of, that I try to take care of. This is a reissue of the Jimi Hendrix album. This isn't the original. I bring my Abraxas album with me. I got this as a gift from my uncle Mike. Mike! Big Mike! Got my Judas Priest. You know, I bought this mostly because I love the art. It's got like the nice chrome finish for the painting. You know, it's like the non-metallic metal paint style, you know, where it's like blues and whites used to create the silver tones. It's actually like a really difficult painting technique. It's something I love to look at. I got a Wes Montgomery bumping. This is Doors, Waiting for the Sun. You know, that's all vintage. For all you East Coast viewers, Boston. Here we go. Deep Purple, Machine Head. Yeah. That's got Highway Star on here. That was like the original speed metal song. And this is Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. I've got the original Iron Butterfly Heavy. This came out before In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. This was like their first album. But like everybody knows In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. And the one that I thought was really cool on here was the Iron Butterfly theme. And then we've got Eric Clapton, Slow Hand, Cocaine. Let's see here, I got one more show off piece. This is a reissue, it's not the original, but it's Santana Abraxas. This blew my mind. The artwork on this, I can't remember the guy's name, but he also did artwork for Miles Davis. Same artist who did Bitches Brew. And I remember just looking at this and like not realizing like this is art. Like I was looking at this and I kept thinking like, what is this? Like this is allowed? Like this is okay? Because I looked at it and I didn't understand that like something could be this raw. You know, all the bright colors and just like this insane arrangement of objects. And like obviously the beautiful women on the cover, but just like everything on it, it was just like this is so different. I've never seen anything like this. I remember looking at this for a long time, really trying to like let it sink in, like the message of this piece of art. So yeah, that's this whole collection over here. Right over in the far left side, I got my High on Fire poster. So it's actually signed by the band. I got that when I saw them at the Catalyst. Next to that, I saw Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats. That was another show me and my uncle went to. The Dalai Lama actually visited San Jose State. It was one of the coolest things ever because when he showed up, he really took the time to like talk to the people. And he really seems like a genuinely peaceful, motivated leader who's acting on behalf of the people. Jason Becker article, No Ordinary Guitar Hero. That's when I got introduced to Jason Becker. He's this guy who has cerebral palsy. He just still composes. He's completely paralyzed, but he uses this weird language that records his eye movements, and then based off of how he flicks his eyes, he can communicate to people words and entire like phrases and conversations, and he actually composes from his chair, you know, his life support chair, and he still keeps going. And then next to him, oh man, I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Oh, Billy McLaughlin, that's his name. He had a neurological disorder. His nerves were damaged. He was normally a right-handed player, but then he basically suffered massive injury to his right hand, and so he had to reteach himself the guitar, but left-handed. Just a lot of inspirational people, you know, that I try to like surround myself with. And then above us, I got my Iron Maiden and Led Zeppelin posters. Those were two of my original posters. Badass Mastodon poster. And of course, the Grateful Dead. Then right here, I got a few other things. There's some pictures of me with my parents. And then like a really funny political cartoon about, you know, New York Mayor Bloomberg. You know, I'm just a big fan of political cartoons. I think that they're one of the wittiest ways to express like a very complex political opinion. Another photo of the Dalai Lama from his visit at San Jose State. Another photo of Jason Becker. And then this drawing above Jason Becker was something my sister drew and gave to me one of my first Magic cards. Love the game. It's an old hobby of mine. Then we got right here, painting that I've been working on for the last almost 3 years. I'm calling it Wind Breath. It's a 4-part painting. The first 3 parts are kind of like one trilogy, and then the 4th part kind of is standalone. But it's basically the story of the wind god and the moon goddess. And the story is all of the stars in the sky are gossiping about how handsome the wind god is and like how brave and bold he is. So the moon goddess decides to travel to Earth to test him to see if he's really all that. So she's right here. She's not fully painted yet. I'm still working on her. But she comes down to Earth to test him, and she dresses like a peasant, but a beautiful peasant woman. She stands on the edge of a cliff, and while the wind god is blowing by, he sees her and he stops, and he's gently blows a flower to her, which is this first scene right here. This is going to be a Birds of Paradise. I'm working on coloring it. He blows a flower to her and she ignores him. Basically, he gets angry because of her insolence and he tries blowing her off the cliff, thinking she's just a mortal woman. And when he blows as hard as he can, she's still there. And then she reveals herself to be the moon goddess and says, "You're not worthy of me, you're too childish." And she leaves him and ends up choosing to be with Ocean. And that's the reason why the moon pulls the ocean. That's why those two are tied together. That's like this mythology that I created. It's the backstory that I wrote for this. The first part is basically this, what you're seeing right here. The second part is him like in a fit of rage trying to blow her off the cliff, and I'll change the color themes and change the overall aesthetic and style to match that. Afterwards, it's all about, putting it together and making it look coherent and like a consistent theme. And the third piece is like him kind of like by himself looking at the moon goddess with the ocean and being jealous and envious and alone. And then the fourth panel, which is going to be kind of like a side piece, is going to be him meeting the rain goddess. So you have the moon and the ocean, and then you have the wind and rain, and it's like the elements of the earth are paired together. And I'm trying to like create my own mythology to explain these old myths. I'm a big fan of those kind of creation stories. I think they're really creative. They're like integral to human culture. I think it's like a big part of our existence is to explore these ideas that we oftentimes like forget. So yeah, there's the wind god, and he's like very bold, and he's breathing out this spiral that's going to turn into this Birds of Paradise. And then here she is. She's going to be very gray. She's going to look very plain. And then all this crazy stuff that's happening over here, all this crazy stuff, that's his hair. He's kind of like wrapping himself around her, and he's trying to woo her, but she's rejecting him pretty unceremoniously. And that's kind of like the point of the story, is like she's choosing her own destiny. So yeah, that's some of the art I've been working on. I'm painting an album cover as well for my debut album. This is kind of just a side project for me to just warm up on. I'm going to paint the first panel, then I'm going to paint the album cover. Then I'll paint the second and third panel for this, then the fourth panel. By the time I'm done with that, it'll probably be like 2019, because it takes me a long time. This is like 500 hours deep on just like this project. I started in 2015, and I have the second draft right here. And the second draft, this was like basically the first color test. Stopped for a while because I was really busy and I got caught up, so don't let the bullshit catch you up, and don't set aside your projects. But you can clearly see like the consistency behind the faces. And I came up with the flower idea like early on, the two Birds of Paradise, but I didn't actually have the idea for the woman in the story until later on. That kind of came after I worked at it. So like sometimes I see a vision, it's not complete, it's not finished, but I see enough of it to get started, and I get as far as I can with that vision, and then I sometimes have to just wait until the rest of it comes to me. I can't really force it to happen, and so I just have to sit there and wait. And while I'm waiting, I work on other projects. I don't just stop. I move on to something else, and I've been working on this since May. So I started in 2015, and now like basically 2 going on to 3 years later, I'm finishing it up. And it's just like, that's kind of what it takes. You just have to be persistent. If you don't have the vision right away, just know that it'll come to you if you're patient, and just give it the time it needs to reveal itself to you, and then go from there. But if you try and force it, it's always going to come out worse than what you see in your mind. I mean, the words we say never live up to the ones inside our head. It's It's a Chris Cornell quote, and it's like the same thing with art, same thing with music, anything we want to create. But we want to try and get as close to that as possible. When you force something, you really push yourself away from it. So yeah, that's just kind of like where I'm at with my artistic process, my work. And yeah, I've been a painter for 21 years. I'm 26. I've been doing this since I was 5, and it's not any easier. It's actually harder and more complicated and painstaking now than it was when I was a kid. But I actually enjoy that challenge. So yeah, do what you love.